In the words of Savage, stop the foolishness. Stop the foolishness. Stop the foolishness, man. I think it's gone on. Even though we're at the early part of the season, it's gone on now. I feel like for a bit too long, and now everyone's trying to keep quiet, trying to remove some of their tweets and stuff like that that they said about Erling Haaland. Bro, stop, 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 stop. When we're talking about the best strikers in today's game, he is a top two striker in the world. I'm sorry. I don't really care about your Mbappe's, your Kane's, your Levin. He's a top two striker. You can pick any one of them if you want to be number one. I don't mind. I'm not going to argue with you. But when we're talking about strikers, striker number 9, goal scorer, we're talking about Erling Haaland. He is, for me, he's my number one striker. Like if I had to pick a striker in world football right now and I had a team, I'm picking Erling Haaland. We can do all of the, yeah, you can pick Harry Kane, for example, who I think is also a top two striker. So again, I could pick between the two. Yeah, I mean, I just prefer Erling Haaland because of what he can do. The amount of goals that this guy scores, I don't care about his link-up play, which is supposedly not good. I don't care about his touches on the ball. I don't care about none of that. I've seen him do most things that some strikers could only dream of doing. And before anybody even says, "Oh yeah, but because he was you know, playing for who is it, Manchester City and all that kind of stuff," everyone's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." But when you play for Manchester City, it's easy. It's easy. It's easy. It's not that easy. I can promise you that. I can promise you that. You know how you know it's not that easy? Because as you guys can obviously see on your screen, he's been scoring goals. He's been scoring goals. Like this ain't new. This ain't new with Erling Haaland, 89 games for Borussia Dortmund. The guy scored 86 goals and got 23 assists. He's well over his GA if anybody wants to add. Like, not that I even care about GA when it comes to strikers. When he was at Salzburg, he got 29 goals in 27 games. It's only in his first, when he was playing for Mold and Brian, that's where he weren't scoring. And then he just went on an absolute madness. Well, I say Mold, but when he was in the under 19s. But full Mold itself, 20 goals in 50 games. That was probably him just kind of, okay, let me just see what type of striker I am. You know what I mean? But as soon as he moved to Borussia Dortmund, I'm sorry, people, man. He is the number one striker. And the disrespect that I saw, and listen, this video might be coming a bit too late and stuff like that. And of course, by the time this video even drops, Champions League games would have kicked off and maybe even the next Premier League round, depending on, whenever I put this out. But 333 games and 264 goals with 57 assists. Come on, man. Like, we need to stop being foolish when it comes to Erling Haaland. Like, I get it. People have their preference, and I'm definitely not saying you can't have, a preference in terms of the type of players that you like and what you want your striker to do and stuff like that. This is his first season at Manchester City. 52 goals in 53 games. I don't even look at the assist. I don't need to look at the assist. But you know why? Because I don't care about the GA. I really don't. When someone scores that type of a goal, like that amount of goals, why do, like, I'm not even gonna say, okay, technically he got 61 GA in 53 games. If we want to make it look better, but I don't need to. I don't need to. And that's the sign of a fantastic and probably the world's best striker. That's the sign of that. When you're only looking at one column. Nowadays, what we try to do with players and different stuff, we always try to add both of them because we need to make it look good, right? So most people will be like, yeah, he got 61 GA in his first season. We don't need to say that. With Erling Haaland, you never need to say those kind of things because you're talking about a guy who got 52 in 53 games. Like, that's a ridiculous amount of goals. In his next season, he got 38 in 45. Again, that's a ridiculous amount of goals. In the following season, he got 34 in 48. You know what I'm saying? If anything, he's actually looking like it started to go down a little bit. 52, then 38, then 34. This season, he's already got 5 in 4. Yeah, and we haven't even. I didn't even add the goals that he's obviously scored for Norway in the recent international. How many goals did he get? Like, I'm sure he got a hat trick, if not more than that. I don't even know. And to be honest, I don't even care because it doesn't even matter when it comes to Erling Haaland, man. I think we just need to stop with the disrespect. I get it. Everybody's got their favorites when it comes to like players and stuff like that. We've also got players that we look at and think, listen, their style of play, it resonates with you most. That's fine. Like I said, I've got no issues with that whatsoever. because I also, as you guys already know, I'm also very biased towards, certain players and certain styles of play. And do you know what I mean? Like, you guys already know, I'm a Barca guy. So, I mean, I like those kind of players kind of thing. And I've always liked those kind of players. That's fine. But I can't sit here and say Erling Haaland isn't one of the best strikers I have ever seen, ever. In the history of everything, he is one of the best I've ever seen. Where he ranks, I won't know until he finishes his career. But at this rate, with the amount of goals that he's getting, I mean, he's already on 129 and 150 appearances. He broke the goal scoring record in his first season at Manchester City. He won a treble. He's won back-to-back Premier Leagues. I mean, I don't know what else people even need to see. Forget even the style of play, which I also think, by the way, is a bit of a myth when we talk about, Erling Haaland and, his kind of, like, people, I think we all heard Roy Keane obviously talking about Haaland, and he feels like, on the ball and whatever it was, that statement about him being not that good on the ball, like a League Two player, and all of that kind of stuff. And I think some people just kind of ran with it for a long time. And obviously, of course, as I mentioned before, in terms of the stats and stuff like that, was it last season? He only got 34 goals. He only got 34 goals. Can you imagine? But he got 34 goals. So, and City weren't good last season. Do you know what I mean? They weren't good in any of the competitions that they were kind of placed in. You know what I mean? You said they weren't really hitting form, but I mean, this is a guy who didn't hit form. Can you imagine what your striker would be like if they weren't on form or the team weren't on form? Oh my days, bro. It would actually be a madness. It would actually be, a bit of a madness. And when you even look at stuff like this, in regards to Haaland, I mean, excuse me, you can look here. It might be a bit small, but I'll tell you guys, he's got more. He's got, I think, is it 2.727. So you're talking more, double the XG of the next best player in the league. He's got 5.7. The next best is Semenyo on 2.7, and then it's Gyökeres on 2.1. Did you get what I'm trying? Like, but people don't even understand. Like, when we talk about Erling Haaland and his style of play, and in terms of how good is he really, again, the goals are obviously the goals, and that's where he's going to be judged anyway, because that's what he was signed for Manchester City to do. And listen, technically speaking, it helped them to win their first Champions League because they had a player like Erling Haaland, as well as obviously I'm gonna say Ballon d'Or Rodri, but he didn't win it that season. But he's playing at that kind of level. Kevin De Bruyne, Phil Foden. I mean, Manchester City for me are still the best team in England. Do you know what I mean? Until I see otherwise, they're still going to be the best team in England. Do you know what I mean? One season for me just ain't really. Until I see someone else win it, then I can't say categorically that there's another team I believe is better than Manchester City, because I mean, his movement in the box is, for me, and I mean, there's a lot of good strikers out there, and there's a lot of good strikers who have good movement. But when we're talking about in the box, some strikers just have good movement, just in a general sense. They make the runs and all that. No, 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 no. That's great, and I'm not saying that to discredit them. But when we're talking about in the box, Erling Haaland, for me, off the top of my head anyway, again, I might not be thinking too deeply. And again, I haven't seen every striker in the world, but I've seen probably the top 30, 40 strikers that you could probably name. And to me, Erling Haaland has the best movement out of all of them. People think, oh yeah, it's easy. He's always at the back stick. He's always at the back stick. Why can't you stop it then? You know what I'm saying? Why can't you stop it? It's the Robin thing. I keep saying it's like Iron Robin. He's going to cut inside and shoot. But he's so good at it, you cannot stop that. You can't stop that. His movement is ridiculous in the box. He's always on the blind side of these defenders. You would think by now they would have known, yeah, look, listen, when the ball's here on that left-hand side or on that right-hand side and they're kind of close to the box and they're looking like they're just about to cross it, yeah, Haaland, maybe we should start being a bit more aware of where Erling Haaland is, because obviously he's going to be, trying to get on the end of it. And like I said, even his movement outside the box. What I like about Erling Haaland, probably, I wouldn't say the most, but what I do like about him, right? Let me even flick through here. Why I didn't even agree, and like Roy Keane is just being bitter because it's Roy Keane at the end of the day, right? When the ball gets played into here, in these positions, right? Whether it's the centre back, and it's usually the centre back who punches it into Erling Haaland, right? Centre back, or it could be one of the midfielders, whoever. From those deep areas, when the ball gets into Erling Haaland, people, I don't know, maybe they want Messi on the ball and he's going to take a touch, or Neymar and he's going to do a little flick, a little step over here. No, no, no. He don't need to do none of that. Why he's so smart is obviously his back's to goal. So the reality is he doesn't know what's necessarily behind him. He's got a picture probably in his head. He's probably taking a little quick look. But good strikers, they understand what they need to do. Manchester City, Pep Guardiola, they were smart when it comes to this anyway. You punch the ball into Erling Haaland. Let's be real. He's so strong. There's only maybe like a couple of defenders who are going to be able to handle him. So when it comes to that kind of battle, that kind of duel, he don't need to worry about that. That ball gets punched into him. He passes the ball to the forward-facing players. So it'll be another midfielder. In this picture, it might be Foden. Obviously, in the bottom one, you can see it's Kevin De Bruyne. But Kevin De Bruyne can see the whole picture. That then allows for City to then be able to push forward, and then they can operate in those forward areas. Do you get what I'm saying? And that's why he's so important for their kind of build-up play. Not seeing it so much this season, and towards the back end of last season, I wouldn't say I'm seeing it a lot, but you're seeing it, just not as much as maybe as I, would have seen it kind of before. And again, here's just him being on that blind side. It's just like defenders just seem to never really know, but it's the space that he can see, and it's the space that he can create. That blind side run, like I said, bro, there's nobody I know who does this run better. And Manchester City, again, the way that they kind of operated and they kind of play, when he makes those kind of runs, remember him making that run, because it's Haaland, the opposition is thinking, oh my God, like it's now panic stations. Haaland, when he's one-on-one, just put a goal on the sheet, because it's going to more or less going to go in, barring a catastrophic miss, right? When he makes these kind of runs in behind or even in front of the centre back, remember, blind side. The only defender really is maybe the one behind. So when he's in the middle like that, that guy, he's running into his space. Remember, he doesn't know Erling Haaland's there. He's so focused on what's going on over there. I know this is Manchester United. I get it. So they take that with a pinch of salt, so to speak. But when he makes that run either is going to get him into a position to be able to score, or it's going to allow for the space when he gets that ball, because he's going to be able to get it. It's Haaland, right? As long as the ball is somewhat accurate, he'll get that. Once he gets that ball, there's now going to be space behind where he's just, this area that he's left, there's now space being created. He's created that space with just one run. He's now created space for the 3-4 players in behind him to then be able to operate in. So whether he gets the ball or not, if he does get the ball, he can then either knock it back, or he's going to go obviously through, on goal. But the runs that he makes, that's why it looks like it's so easy. Oh, it's easy. Kevin De Bruyne just pass it into hard. Yeah, it's simple. No, it's not always that simple, because if you don't have a striker who can make smart runs, if you don't have a striker who understands how to make these kind of blindsided runs, it's always going to be difficult. Obviously, we know already City on the ball, they're like one of the best teams in the world when it's just being on the ball, playing in tight spaces, getting out of tight spaces, doing this, doing that. So he already knows he's not going to be involved. You can see his heat map already on the screen. His heat map ain't crazy. Most of his heat map is in the box, because that's where he needs to operate. So when people get onto Haaland, I think there was a game potentially even this season that Haaland scored. It might have been against Brighton actually, where I think he'd only had like 8 touches. One of them was a goal. I don't know many, if any, strikers who can move like that. Most of our strikers that we talk about from our own teams, whether it's Alexander Isak, or whether it's Gyökeres, or whether it's a Sesko, whether it's who's Chelsea got, Joao Pedro, and all these other like strikers, Ollie Watkins, Wissa, Voltemade, like all of them, they're not doing 8 touches and a goal. I ain't seeing that. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm not seeing them do 8 touches. It'll take about 8 touches to get that. Do you get? They're not doing 8 touches, people. Trust me when I tell you. But Haaland can do that because he's so freaking clinical. And I just felt like I had to do this video, because some of the stuff that I see about Haaland, I'm like, you realize this guy's on like Sky Sports did a thing, right, where they spoke about, and big up to Alexander Isak, because he is, one of my favorite strikers anyway, out there, and just in terms of him in a general sense, right? And I'm not saying that you can't not like him. And again, his style of play, it might be better for some people. I get that. I fully get that. But you see, when Sky Sports did the whole comparison, because obviously Liverpool signed him, and who's the better striker? Who's the better striker? Who's the better striker? Bruv, there's only one winner. The best striker in Europe is probably Haaland. But I'll give you the blight if you then went Mbappe or Harry Kane. Lewandowski, just because of the nostalgia, but even he's scoring goals like there's no tomorrow. But when they were doing, I said Alexander Isak is a top striker. I promise you there's levels. I promise you that there is levels to this. There is major levels to this when we're talking about top players and top strikers. Erling Haaland is that top striker. He is the level that every other striker should be trying to aspire to. Whether you can get there or not is obviously going to be another thing, but that is the kind of level that people should be trying to aspire, to get to, is that Erling Haaland level. And listen, man, until such time I feel like we feel that someone else is going to hit that kind of level, I just like the comparisons and who's the best. Not just sometimes, yeah. I always think here with journalists obviously do it, Sky Sports, all of those guys, they do it, and I understand why that they do it. Do you get what I'm saying? Because yeah, it's something to talk about and stuff like that. You see, when we're talking about other strikers, I'm like, just allow them, let them be their own, like let them be their own person, right? Let them be who that player is. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, let's not do the comparisons thing, because you're comparing them, sorry, to someone who's at like a different kind of level. He's on a different stratosphere to everybody else. So there's no point doing none of that kind of stuff where, oh yeah, who's this? I mean, we tried it with Nunes and it failed. And it failed miserably. Now, Nunes is a bit different. Alexander Isak is obviously of a higher level than a Darwin Nunes, but I'm just saying, let Isak just get there. Let Isak get to that point where we can start talking about, yeah, who's the best this. And to be honest, I still think it will just come down to your own personal preference in terms of a striker, and also the team that you're in. In certain teams, in a Barcelona team under Pep Guardiola, I don't think someone like, Erling Haaland would work. And I think we've kind of seen that Ibrahimovic's, the Samuel Eto'os and that, like they don't really work. I mean, he needs a bit more fluidity in terms of what he needed at Barcelona. But again, that's Barcelona. That might just be a one-off. But here he's been able to utilize what Haaland is good at, which is we just don't get involved in the build-up play. Don't waste all this tireless energy. Don't have your strikers now dropping deep into central midfield to pick up the ball. For what? Just to have nobody running beyond it. Forget all of that. Forget all of that. Let Phil Foden, let Gundogan, let Kovacic, let Reinders, let Cherky, let Doku, let all of these guys, let them worry about that. That's what they're there for. They're there to feed you. You just make sure that you can put the ball in the back of the net. And guess what? He does it more than anybody else. He does it more than anybody else. In the 3 years that he's been here, I think, 3 seasons. Now he's been here 22, 23, 23, 24, 24, 25. In the 3 years that he's been here, 2 of those years he's won the Golden Boot, I believe. I don't think anybody else has won that. In his first season, he broke the record, as I mentioned before. Let's stop doing the comparison stuff, man. I feel like it ruins too many players anyway, because your expectations now are like, well, if he's doing it, then he should be doing it. Nah, I don't work like that. Man's got to put in effort. Man's got to put in the graft for years before you get to these kind of stages, before you can even be considered to be world class. You know what I'm saying? In terms of strikers in the Premier League, there's only one world class striker, and that's Erling Haaland. I'm sorry. There's no other world class striker in the Premier League. In Europe, that's when you can start Harry Kane, Kylian Mbappe, Lewandowski. Probably about it. In terms of world-class strikers, they're probably the only ones. I can't really think of anybody else. They're probably literally the only ones. And that's not a slight on anybody else. There's some real bad boys out there. Like I said, Alexander Isak is a bad boy. Gyökeres, from what he's shown, for Sporting, he's kind of a bad boy. And so far for Arsenal, he's scoring goals. You know what I mean? Ollie Watkins is a decent striker. Girassi from Dortmund is a good striker. They're not world class though. We got to let people just breathe, and then we can go from there, man. But listen, rant's done. It's all over, done and dusted. Are you one of the people who have been criticizing Erling Haaland? Are you one of the people who think Erling Haaland isn't the best striker? If you don't, let me know in the comment section, and let me know exactly why you do not think that he is one of the best strikers and who you have above him. Let me know. I'd love to know. If it ain't Kane or Mbappe or Lewandowski, I want to know who that player is, because I'll be very, very intrigued. Let me know your thoughts, man. I'll catch you guys soon, man. Peace.